You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey everyone, we're back. We're doing our 61 days of Halloween or horror, or whatever you want to call it. We've been calling it Halloween. We've been doing this for a few years now. If you didn't see our first video, we covered the 1 through 10 of our list. And now we're going on to 11 through 20. We're going to go all the way to 61. Oh yeah, I forgot to say I'm Chad Webb, and this is my wife, Kerri Webb. We, like I said, we've been doing this for a few years now. We finally decided, hey, let's actually make something out of it and start recording our reviews of these movies. So, if you haven't seen them, maybe you want to get some reviews to see if you even want to check it out, or if you have seen them, maybe you can see if you agree or disagree with us, and that's the fun of film discussion. That being said, this is basically just our opinion, so don't take them to heart too much. But checking them out if you like them and you like what we have to say about them. Do you want to get started with?
Well, first I just want to clarify that each of our sets of 10 are in our watch order. They're not we view these 10 movies as better than the 10 that were in our previous video.
In fact, we are going to rank them at the end. Like in our first video, we ranked those first 10. We're going to rank these 10. And then maybe at the end, we'll do an entire big 61 rank. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if we're up to something like that. That's a lot of movies to rank. But
Oh, and then I want to clarify, one of the movies in the set is definitely not a horror movie. I don't even think you can argue it's kind of a horror movie. Although it's arguably kind of a Halloween movie.
All right. Yeah. So we can actually go ahead and get into talking about these. Kerri, do you want to go ahead and read off the list in alphabetical order of the movies we watched?
Oh, sure. Carnival of Souls, Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead 2002? 2004, the remake. Kiki's Delivery Service, No One Will Save You, Pumpkinhead, Repo the Genetic Opera, Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, The Witches of Eastwick, and Wrath of Becky.
Yeah, so honestly, you can already see that we have a whole slate of movies from different eras of horror and movies and stuff. So it's
a lot of different genre, subgenre.
Yeah, so I'm excited to get into these. We try to vary it sometimes and go, hey, that's kind of a horror movie. Let's watch that. Here we go. So we're starting off with Carnival of Souls. What did you know about this movie before going in? Anything?
Literally nothing. I had seen, I think a still, whatever the still is that's on Letterboxd, which I think is the main character coming out of the river.
Yeah.
And I assumed there was some kind of carnival of souls.
Right. I was making a lot of Carnival and Souls jokes during the movie. But I actually did really like this one. I hadn't heard too much about it, but I did. Sometimes I do listen to the critically acclaimed podcast with Bibbs and Whitney, William Bibiani and Whitney Seibold.
You don't know them like that. Be formal.
Well, anyways, that's true. But no, they actually brought it up, and we had already owned it when I heard their review of it, because sometimes we'll go through Criterion, and if they're having a sale, we're like, ooh, what horror movies do they have? We do it with Arrow and Scream Factory and all these other services as well that release really cool editions of Blu-rays and stuff. But we were going through and we're like, Carnival of Souls, that actually sounds like a cool horror movie. And we're a little bit lacking on our classics sometimes, so we're trying to really, build that up and get better a lot of the time. Kerri, you can start. What did you think about this one?
Sure. I love this one. I think if you are a fan of Night of the Living Dead, David Lynch, Final Destination, that's kind of a long shot one, but I think anyone who's a fan of those movies would really, really enjoy this. It's kind of trippy. It's, I don't know how to explain it without giving too much away. I don't really want to super get into the plot.
Yeah, you don't have to.
But I would say if you enjoy older horror movies, and by older I mean like this is a 60s horror movie.
62, I think. Yeah.
It's not crazy old. But I definitely check it out. It is really, really good. It's more psychological, I think, than anything else. There's some really great scares. Yeah, I'll let you.
Yeah.
Think about it.
It's actually it's a very short movie. It's like 78 minutes, I believe. So it didn't take us long to get through this one, and I actually really dug that. I thought it was like brief, but I didn't feel like it needed much more. Like, it's a very simple plot. It's like a girl being called, pardon the baby cries, not cries, but you know, a girl being called to some unknown force or some unknown presence, and you know, she keeps seeing a lot of different visions of things, and you know, maybe spirits or souls, kind of a deal. But yeah, I thought it was very creepy. I think the best thing about it was like the imagery, kind of like a The Shining kind of a deal, where it's like the best part of it is just you know, the imagery that they show, and you know, the makeup effects, and you know, it's like a very early horror movie. I mean, like Kerri said, it's like the 60s, so it's not like crazy early, like Frankenstein or anything like that, but it predates Night of the Living Dead, and that was a very contemporary, like, you know, older horror movie. You know, so I don't know if like this influenced Night of the Living Dead or anything like that, but I love these kind of like black and white movies where you're looking at it and you're like, you know, well, I see a lot of black and white movies that are just like straight up dramas or crime movies and stuff like that. To see someone going, I'm going to make a horror movie and just like, you know, creep you the heck out, and like to see how they use it in a very early setting is very, very cool. Kerri has to tend to the baby, but yeah. Like Kerri said, I don't really want to dig deep into the plot because there's not much of plot. So it's like one of those things to where if you do that, you're basically saying the whole movie. But I will just say, like, definitely check this one out because what you do get, I think, is really cool. You know, the protagonist is really interesting. You know, and I don't know, it's just very spooky. It's really hard to talk about this movie.
Oh, it's definitely spooky, yeah.
There's not like a ton going on. It's very simple, but I think very effective in its simplicity.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if you like metaphors in your horror movies, I think this is a great one to watch.
And kind of like a twisty movie, too, a little bit. There's things you don't really see coming, and just very, like, creepy, like, things coming at you. Like, walking up really fast towards the camera.
Yeah, and I would say not, you know, I mean, I think it's not like Lynchian level of like kind of confusing the things that are going on, but it's not like the most straightforward either. I think you do have to, you know, do a little bit of thinking about what's going on, and you can interpret it multiple ways.
Yeah, you can see the influence on Lynch, not with like his weird take on things or like super metaphorical like he does, or abstract. But you can see it in, like, the filmmaking style and, you know, just a decade or, like, 15 years earlier.
I think fantastic use of music and sound editing.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I actually thought it was pretty scary. So, you know, anything else to say?
No.
Check it out. If you don't normally gravitate towards older movies, like classics, you know, I think you might dig this one if you like horror. It doesn't try to do anything that it can't, and everything it does is amazing. So check it out. It's a great classic. Clothes change and potentially angle change. Not sure. We had to pause and then start recording again on a different day. But yeah, we can continue the video. And we just got finished talking about Carnival of Souls. And I just wanted to mention, if you watch this one, make sure that you pay attention to basically every frame, because there's a lot going on. There's things that will just, pop out, or it's very surreal at times, and I think that's incredible about it. So, you want to move on?
Yeah.
All right. So the next film is, do you know, Kerri, in alphabetical?
It is Dawn of the Dead.
All right. So we're talking about Dawn of the Dead. Wait, didn't we already talk about Dawn of the Dead? We're talking about the remake, Dawn of the Dead, made by Zack Snyder, written by James Gunn. So that's kind of an interesting combo right there already. Kerri, do you like this movie?
I would say this watch was the most I've ever liked this movie.
Okay. I'll say that's exactly my thoughts as well. Kerri had seen this movie before I did, and then we did a rewatch together. And then I don't think it really changed for her. I think she didn't really care for it that much that time either. And then I was like, you know what? Let's do some sort of ranking. Let's watch all of the Dead movies again. We'll watch the Romeros. We'll watch the remakes. Did we already talk about? We didn't talk about Night of the Living Dead remake on here, did we? I don't think we did. No, that wasn't on our.
I think that was we watched that.
Yeah, before September.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, but we like that one. But also, I like this remake. I think a lot of people hype this one up a lot, and I'm not on that level. I do think it's better than I thought it was, and I think that it's doing a lot of good things. I like how it doesn't feel like a retread. It feels like they're doing different stuff in it. And it doesn't feel like it's always only like fast zombies. Because that's one thing with me is I don't love the change from slow zombies to fast zombies, because I think slow zombies carry like a bigger meaning about like, the fear of death and, the inevitable. They're inevitably going to get you. You have to sleep sometime kind of a deal. And what I liked about the original Dawn of the Dead, where it was kind of more slow-paced and a little bit campy and sillier, in this one, they're really trying to be like, no, we're not going campy. This is just a legit horror film, boom, kind of a deal. And we might have a baby waking up. But yeah, I like the style of this. I like how they carried it out. What are some of the new faces in this movie? Let me look up some of the cast. Did you have anything else to say about this one?
Ving Rhames is in this movie.
That's right. Ving Rhames, Sarah Polley, the director of Women Talking, which was a good movie from last year. Ty Burrell from Modern Family.
Mekhi Phifer.
That's right, Mekhi Phifer of 8 Mile fame. There's a lot of recognizable people in here. I like how they have like certain like plot lines that weren't really in the original, like the woman who's pregnant giving birth, and then there was the guy who, at all costs would like defend the baby, even though the baby
Mekhi Phifer.
Yeah, Mekhi Phifer ended up turning out to be a zombie baby. What did you think about Zombie Baby, Kerri?
I'm not really a fan of this movie.
Really? So you
I'm thinking about it. I feel like after I watched it, I was like, this isn't too bad, but nothing really hits in this movie for me.
I mean, I can say that it's definitely a step down from the original, but I mean, there's only like a handful of remakes you could say are just going to be better than the original. You really have to like.
The special effects in this are very cool.
Yeah. That's one thing that Zack Snyder never fails at, is just giving you a really good-looking movie. This is this is still the thing. Well, the one thing that I do like is I like the bit about the rooftops, where you have the people communicating on the rooftops, and they end up starting playing chess together and stuff like that. That's a bit that wasn't really used like that in the original. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot in this movie that I thought was well done. They did it, differently from the original, but also like good, so for me, I think I like it a little more than Kerri, but like I'm not on this is one of the best zombie movies ever. Like, some people think it's like the best, and I'm like, no, you guys need to watch more classics, because this one is very good. A lot of good effect, and I think the reason why the story feels good is because James Gunn is behind the script. And this is the man that's now taking over all the DC stuff now. So he's got a whole world to create. He's the new, like, the next Feige, I guess. So yeah, if you need to make a good zombie movie, I would say get James Gunn to write it, Zack Snyder to direct it. Although I'm not sure how I feel about Army of the Dead. Maybe we'll get to that point. We'll get to that one at another point. Do we have to rewatch that? No, we don't have to if you hated it that much. But
it's bad. It's really bad.
I think Kerri doesn't like any zombie movies post 2004. But even then, you don't like this one. This one was 2004. So.
Yeah, I like Shaun of the Dead.
That's also 2004, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, yep. Now we can talk about Day of the Dead from George Romero. Last video we talked about George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. Mm-hmm. So now we get to talk about the third movie in the Dead trilogy, Day of the Dead. Kerri, do you like this movie?
Yeah, I love this movie.
Why?
It's really cool because this is the third movie in the trilogy. I think these special effects are just kicked up to even another level. And there's just some really fun parts to this movie. It's still scary. Yeah. Yeah,
Day of the Dead, it's just interesting because, like, there's some people that might even say this isn't really a trilogy, because if you need the main character to be the same throughout, because each of these are just different stories. They're just different stories with different characters, and with the main thread of zombies have taken over, basically. With the beginning of it, Night of the Living Dead, and then people trying to figure out how to survive, in Dawn of the Dead, and then Day of the Dead, it's a little bit of still trying to survive, but then also trying to figure out how to get along with each other, and also trying to figure out, like, should we start studying the zombies, and should we see if, instead of just killing them, like was the plan in the first movie, maybe we could end up, sorry. Maybe we could end up actually, like, finding out if they can come into normal society and actually live in normal society, is what I'm trying to say. Mainly with the zombie called Bub, mm-hmm. Which is one of the best zombies ever created. Just because he's just kind of an innocent zombie, just just is being taught how to do things like what is one of the things that he's taught to do, like play music and
I think so,
and stuff like that, because he has him push the button on a tape recorder, mm-hmm. and then he hands him a gun at one point, kind of a deal. So and speaking of that, there's a lot of tension in this movie because you have like different factions, I guess. You have like the regular people, and then you have like the military there, and so you have like the military all kind of like jokey, like kind of making like sexist comments, and then they're also one of them is a very big like hothead and kind of like, I'm taking charge of everything. And then the main protagonist is talking to some of the other people around there, like, and is told that, so I mean, if you don't actually have an active role in the bunker, you might actually get killed. They're actually holding a lot of these zombies like at in this section of, they're all in a bunker. Did I say that? I think I did. But yeah, they're holding them all in this like one section of the bunker, and you just know that at some point they're probably going to break out, and everything's going to go to hell, and it's going to be really crazy. And that actually happens, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you like about this movie?
I think it's really cool. Each of these movies, I think, have really good themes, the first three. And this one is a lot about, like, taking kind of some of the ideals that some people in the military have to the extreme, and then the same thing with scientific experiments. Like, I don't think either kind of side of this is really painted in a good light.
Yeah. Especially because at first you see the scientist, and the scientist is, you know, just like operating on the zombies, and you see he's got one that he's trying to teach things to, and you're like, oh, okay, you know, that's not that bad. And then you see that like he's like keeping some of them alive, and they're like not all there. I mean, like most of their body's not there, and it's just really like gross and creepy, and it's just like you're actually might be torturing these things, and these zombies might actually, you know, feel this stuff, and, you know, have like this sentience that, you know, what's the ethical, you know, what are the ethics of, you know, actually having, like, treating zombies? You know, if you can outright kill them in like the first one, like, is that okay? If that's okay, or if that's not okay, if you look at, you know, actually like torturing them, stuff like that, like what can you do to these creatures, and, you know, how does that reflect humanity, and stuff like that, right? So yeah, that was a really good point. Ultimately, it's just a really cool movie with a lot of dynamics and stuff like that you have in this bunker, and yeah, I really like it. And there's also, just like in Dawn of the Dead had a sample that they used for in a Gorillaz album, same thing with Day of the Dead, which is a really cool one, and I think the first Gorillaz album. So they still obviously like these movies. So yeah, is there anything else you wanted to say about Day of the Dead? I know we both really like this one a lot.
I really love this one. Yeah, it used to be actually my second favorite of the trilogy. I think now it's my third favorite, but they're all so incredible.
They always kind of shift a little bit in my rankings because I love all three of them a lot. Yeah, so you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. And now we're feeding a baby. That's okay. We gotta do the parent duty and then move on and you know, still talk about these movies. So yeah, Kerri alluded earlier in the video that one of the movies isn't a horror movie, and that's because we watched Kiki's Delivery Service from Studio Ghibli, or Studio Ghibli, however you say that. But yeah, ever since we started doing our 61 days of Halloween, you know, we don't always just do horror. Sometimes it can be Halloween themed, like witches and, you know, anything like that, you know. So we decided, you know, let's watch this cute movie. I also am a part of a movie club that I do, so it kind of was the best of both worlds kind of a deal. And I really like Kiki's Delivery Service. What about you?
Yeah, I really like this one.
Yeah, Kiki's is interesting. I mean, it's just a really cute witch movie about a witch who's trying to come of age and learn how to be a witch, but, you know, she doesn't have like a mentor. She's just kind of like going to a new town and just being that town's witch, I guess. And she's trying to figure out how to do that. And she's got her little cat Gigi that is very cute, and he talks to her and she talks to him, and they have a really good relationship. And Gigi's a little black cat, and when we were watching Kiki the first time, it was before we have our cat named Kiki, and we were getting her. We were like trying to name our cats, and we are like, let's what do we name this one? And Kerri came up with Luna, and they were like, should we name the other one Gigi? Kerri was like, I don't like that, so she was like, let's call her Kiki.
Yeah, well, because Gigi's a black cat, and
True.
And he's a boy cat, and our Kiki is a calico cat. She's a girl cat.
So. Sure, yeah. So, but, you know, ultimately,
maybe one day there'll be a Gigi.
Maybe. But yeah, this movie's very cute. I like how it's just basically like someone trying to figure out how to be what they're meant to be. And it's not, you know, anything that spectacular. There's no like big plan for the movie. It's just, you know, she goes to a new town. She sees that there's a need for, you know, a delivery service, and she creates one. And she's like, you know, I can do this in a very unique way by flying. stuff to people. And it's not always this perfect thing. She doesn't always get everything there quickly. She doesn't always end up not being in the rain. And then one time she actually gets caught in the rain. She gets sick. She thinks she's going to die, which is a very funny part of the movie. Yeah, it's just like she meets a lot of people along the way. And then she ends up having to, kind of like in a very Spider-Man 2 kind of way, she like loses her powers a little bit and then has to figure out how to, I guess, earn them back, kind of a deal, or just like learn how to get them back. I don't know. It's kind of like what, Peter has to do in Spider-Man 2. But yeah, what else do you think about this movie?
Yeah, this is a really good movie. It's like similar to a lot of the other Studio Ghibli movies, or Ghibli. I think it's Ghibli. It's kind of like slice of life, although there is like a definite like beginning, middle, end. There's kind of like a problem she has to solve that Chad was talking about. She loses her powers and like she has to find herself in, her new town. So there is like conflict and resolution and everything. But it's just a very nice, relaxing movie. It's a family movie. Yeah.
Yeah. The only gripe that Kerri and I had with the movie, and this is a spoiler for the end, so just, we're not going to talk about this much longer, just a few seconds. So, maybe mute for 15 seconds if you don't want to know the end. But basically, Kiki is shifting to like a new phase of her life. Like she's growing up the whole movie. And so when she shifts to a new phase, like we said, she starts losing her powers at one point, has to gain them back. Part of her powers is being able to talk to Gigi, the cat. And Gigi's kind of growing up himself as well. He meets a lady cat, which is very cute and very funny, kind of thing. And so she can't talk to him anymore. And then she learns to regain her powers. And then one of the powers she doesn't actually regain is how to talk to Gigi, like in English or whatever. Like he's still there. They're still exist together, but like it's kind of like they're growing into like new phases of their lives. But it still makes me sad that she can't talk to Gigi anymore. That was like her best friend. Like I understand maybe it's trying to say that like friends like, drift in and out of they form different relationships as you go on. Like you're not always going to be that pally with your best pal. But it still makes me sad. And it's like, I don't like that part of the movie. Like I wish you could just talk to Gigi. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. That's not bad if that's like your only qualm for the movie. I just think it's really cute. It's just one to throw on with the family and over the Halloween. Not even Halloween. You can watch it any time, but and same with horror and all these other things. But it is fun, especially to put it on around the Halloween season. So, you want to move on?
Yeah.
All right. So we're moving on now to a very new movie, 2023. No One Will Save You. This movie came out, and a lot of people were talking about it. It was on Hulu. I can't remember if it was like in festivals or anything like that, but definitely dropped on Hulu. And a lot of people were saying, check out this new, really cool alien movie kind of a deal. I'll say this one's very trippy. It's very, I guess, kind of abstract because it's both this like crazy alien invasion movie with some like action and horror, but then it's also kind of like messaging, and it feels like maybe the aliens represent something. And at one point the main character like fights herself or something, I think. Mm-hmm. The main character played by Caitlin Dever, who is amazing. I love Caitlin Dever. She's really great. But basically, she's you go through and the way they like kind of unveil certain things, like you find out that she was responsible or partly responsible for a friend's death. And now not just her friend's mother, but I guess the entire town hates her. And she's kind of like a social pariah now. And so she's kind of like living secluded, but she dreams about like, you know, like she tries to, you know, communicate with her dead friend, and she tries to like dream about like a happy life of, you know, having a happy town and not, you know, being the social pariah, I guess, anymore. And there's an alien invasion, and it's very trippy. There's a lot of really cool visual effects in it. But I'm not sure if I love this one. What do you think, Kerri?
Yeah, I agree. It was really cool. It's a very cool concept. But it was a fine movie as far as, you know, plot and scares and everything goes. It was fine.
Yeah. Is there anything else you had to say about it? I kind of just like went through the plot. Is there anything like you liked about it?
I thought the concept was cool. There's kind of a gimmick to this film that I don't want to give away in case anyone hasn't seen it, and it's kind of cool when you realize it. There were some good scares in it.
I was just about to ask, is it scary?
Yeah. There's scary parts to it.
I think so, because like there like especially towards the beginning, like when you slowly start to realize that this is kind of an alien movie, and that, you know, the way they like have the tension, and you're just like right there with her, and you're just waiting for something to break into her house or something like that, and how events kind of unfold and stuff is just really kind of crazy and trippy a lot of the time. So it's kind of like in the same vein of something like Enemy, if you've seen that a little bit in ways, where it feels like or like Men, if you go to A24 horror. Yeah, because it's like something's happening, but it's like a metaphor for
I gotcha,
other things. That's my Kerri's making the face because
no,
you know
sorry.
I'm just saying you're
well, it's not as trippy as those movies.
It's not as
confusing.
It's definitely more accessible than those movies that I mentioned for sure. So if you didn't like those movies or you don't have expectations that I'm setting, I'm just saying like that's kind of like how it is with the abstract nature of
I would say like this movie, the gimmick is cooler than the actual movie, and that doesn't necessarily make for a great movie. Like something like, you know, like A Quiet Place, that's kind of has a movie where, you know, it's a new concept, right? The monster is attracted to sound, and so everything's pretty quiet. That's kind of where like it has a cool little hook to it, but also the plot and everything in the act. I mean,
it's
the acting in this was actually really good.
Yeah,
but yeah, I would say the plot and stuff in something like A Quiet Place is a lot stronger. And
yeah, I would definitely say so. I mean, the acting we really only have Caitlin Dever in this movie. We have some other characters, but it's mostly just her. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people have said that they really love this movie. I'm not there yet, you know. Maybe on rewatch, there's always a chance.
Yeah.
Things jump up in your ranking if you know, once you understand how everything goes, you maybe can see it deeper. But right now, I liked it. I didn't love it. I think Kerri made a really good point where she talked about, you know, like A Quiet Place also kind of has a gimmick, but the story feels deeper. And the characters feel, you know, deeper and just more developed, you know, than this one. But this one is a very simple story too. So, you know, it is what it is. You know, if you just love the tension and the scares and stuff, then I think you'll actually really dig it. But, you know, I found it kind of mid tier a little bit.
Yeah.
But we can move on. Move on to one that I was actually very excited to watch because I had always heard that people like this movie, and I finally got around to it. Baby okay?
Yeah, he's okay.
I'm talking about Pumpkinhead. Yeah, Pumpkinhead is a really cool movie. It's a monster movie about revenge, basically. You kind of start with this relationship between a father and a son. They're like in the South, and so they do things that people in the South might do, like drive a pickup truck. They own like a country store or something like that, kind of a deal. And I really liked seeing these characters kind of hang out, and then some kids, who ride their motorbikes and stuff, dirt bikes around, come. They're not the best. They're kind of assholes, and they're just, not all of them, but some of them are pretty bad people, and they don't have any respect, and they come around and they end up harming the child that I mentioned. And that leads to somebody calling Pumpkinhead, who basically comes and takes revenge. Yeah, really interesting, and the design of Pumpkinhead and just how they created the creature is really cool. What do you think about this one? You like this one?
Yeah, I really like this one, which was kind of surprising, especially given kind of some of the things that happen in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just kind of like, I think an enjoyable slasher type monster movie, but it's like the Pumpkinhead is kind of acting in the role as a slasher, kind of he's picking off the teens one by one. And the Pumpkinhead design is really cool. I thought the plot was actually pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, it is really cool because like the dad ends up, going to like some sort of like witch doctor.
Yeah, some kind of witch lady.
And she's the one that's like, calling Pumpkinhead, helping him call Pumpkinhead, and he's got to like find her, and it's like find the person that knows her and stuff. And then once he finds her, he's like, I want to, I guess get revenge for his son's death, which I was surprised, that the kid actually died from the motorbike thing, but then when I was like, oh shoot, he's actually dead, that's crazy. Okay. And I was also like, when that happened, I was also worried that the dog that they had was gonna die, because I'm always worried about that. But yeah, it ends up being like where, well, you know what, I won't give away the ending, but I do think it has a very bittersweet ending, because like things resolve well, but then again you're like, but the guy doesn't get his son back. So I guess I spoiled that, but I'm like, so it's not like a Pet Cemetery thing, although it kind of has that feel a little bit, like,
yeah, I would say Gage, he still doesn't really get his son back in Pet Cemetery.
No, he doesn't either. So, but yeah, hi baby. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, I thought it was a really good movie. I'd check out the sequels too. Actually, like I might want to check those out down the line. Not like a great movie. It's still like a slasher, but I think like just the creativeness of it and the story was actually like pretty interesting. So
yeah,
I would recommend this one.
Definitely.
Cool. Do you want to move on?
Yeah.
All right. We're moving on to Repo, the Genetic Opera. This one is weird. I have heard a lot about this, and this is one that I probably should have checked out like a long time ago, because as you can see behind me, Kerri and I are huge Buffy fans, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the show. And Anthony Stewart Head is in the movie, and he's basically a main character. He plays, pardon the baby. The baby's being very silly and making a lot of noises. But yeah, as I was saying, Anthony Stewart Head is basically a big serial killer. He's like kind of contracted to go out and, take out people's organs for sale. And, it's kind of like a business now where, people get their organs sold, but they get like murdered in the process and all this stuff. It's very weird. It's very gross. It's very low budget and silly. And it's like, I could totally see this being someone's thing. Like, they really love this. I think some of the music is kind of cool. They have, what is her name from Halloween 4? That's not who's in it?
No, it's
what
the
is
girl
her name from
It's Alexa Vega. It's
that's
the girl
right.
From Spy Kids.
Alexa Vega from Spy Kids is in this. That's right. And I was interested in her character. She, I believe, is like the main character. She's the one that has, kind of an arc. She learns that, things haven't been, her father or whatever hasn't really been honest with her the entire time. You got like a really crazy businessman who doesn't really care about anyone. And you just got a lot of like odd characters who, might have different faces because they've had like crazy surgery and stuff like that. So it's a very like messed up like rock opera is what I would call it. And I think it's actually really cool in some ways. I could see myself it may be growing on me, but at this current time, I didn't love this one. I thought it was kind of weird, and I don't know. It might be one that maybe I don't ever watch again, but we'll see. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I have thoughts about this one. This was directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who directed
the Saw guy.
Yeah,
okay.
He directed a lot of the middle Saw films, like.
I think he's done most of them, to be honest.
Yeah, most of them except for the first.
He did the new one
first
too.
First couple, and it shows. I'll say. There is a distinct editing style. It's not as bad. The editing actually is not as bad as in some of those Saw movies. Chad has been watching the Saw movies, and just watching the editing is just like, it's hard to watch.
We'll get to one in the next video.
I'll say, Chad said I could see this being someone's thing. I could see this being someone's thing in the mid-2000s. It's very much of that time, like a lot of the aesthetic. I would say if you really love Saw and you also really love Sweeney Todd, like as a musical, you might actually really enjoy this movie. There's just, there's a filter over the whole movie that like a smoothed over filter, that it was a choice. I don't think it really holds up very well. The CGI doesn't hold up at all, although I can't really blame anyone for that. It's mid-2000s low budget CGI, so that kind of is what it is. I don't really hold it against it. Things I'll say, the music was actually pretty good. I enjoyed a lot of the songs.
A lot of talking.
Yeah, a lot of talking songs. Anthony Stewart Head has an amazing voice.
He's so good.
I mean, it's he was on the screen and I was, paying attention. Because he just has that presence.
Especially you remember him from the Buffy musical episode. So we were all excited. Like, he's in another musical. I'm interested to see this one because he's going to sing. So.
Yeah. And I thought actually I don't know if this was actually based on a comic or
not sure.
If they just kind of decided to do some of the exposition in comic style. In the movie, some of the exposition is done in like a comic book format. Those were actually my favorite parts.
Okay.
I thought those were actually really well done, and I thought it was a cool way to, get kind of some of the exposition out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah, you said you compared it to Sweeney Todd, which I definitely see that feel. It's not as good as Tim Burton's Sweeney Todd.
No.
I love that movie.
And the music is not, on that level.
No. But I do think if you're watching this from a certain lens, you could probably get a lot out of it, like a good drunk watch, kind of a deal.
Yeah, if you're, a teenage girl in the mid-2000s, this is probably
just
loves
teenage
horror,
girl,
goth. Maybe a teenage boy too, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it is really interesting movie.
I would say, yeah, teenage boy, anyone who would maybe have a crush on Alexa Vega in that movie.
Well, I mean, I did when I was watching Spy Kids, so there you go. Back in the day. But not this movie because I didn't see it until now. But yeah, very interesting. Not one of my favorites, but, cool. Let's move on.
Okay.
And we're moving on to one I really like. Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. If you don't know anything about this, it was made by Aardman Studios, the mastermind behind Wallace and Gromit and stuff, like Chicken Run and all that stuff, is Nick Park. And he's, a British man, and he, does a lot of stop motion, and it's really incredible. And all the stories from a lot of those movies are very incredible. And I really, really like everything. Okay?
I'm going to put them on its playmat.
Okay. And I really, really like just all these characters, Wallace Gromit, Shaun the Sheep, all the characters from Chicken Run. But yeah, this is a Wallace and Gromit story, and I've always really liked this one. I am a big stop motion fan. I like animation just in general, but like stop motion, I just the craft of it, the way they have to painstakingly move something, take a picture, move something, take a picture, and it takes forever. And I just think that's so cool that you can craft something like The Curse of the Were-Rabbit with that, to where it's not only just a really interesting story, but it's a very good story. Like, I think it's just a really, really good movie. And I can't remember if this won the animated Oscar, but I think it probably did because it's fantastic and it should. Do you like this one?
I love this one.
Oh, what do you have to say about it?
It's almost harder to talk about the ones you love because
Because you like trashing on things. Gotcha.
Well, yeah, sometimes it's easier to pick out things you dislike about something than the whole movie is amazing. Just the characters are very endearing and cute. It's so silly. I think I always think it's silly. Really funny. I think if you it's a lot of physical humor. I think if you like physical humor, it's a really great one. It's one you can show the kids.
For sure.
I mean, I just love a Halloween themed family movie.
Yeah, I mean, in another way, not just Kiki's, but this you could also say is not really a horror movie, but you could also say it kind of is. Because it has the universal monster, were-rabbit kind of.
Yeah, I would say this is. I would still classify this as a horror movie because I think it does have horror elements. It's a horror movie for kids.
Yeah, it follows that formula.
Kiki's, I don't know if there's a single horror. I don't think there's a single horror element in that. This at least there's the mystery. There's like Chad said, the were-rabbit. There's the transformation.
You could argue that Spirited Away is more of a horror movie than Kiki's because there's
definitely.
some really creepy stuff.
Yeah.
There's ghosts and spirits.
Her
and
parents
stuff,
turn into pigs.
But yeah, Curse of the Were-Rabbit, like Kerri said, is extremely funny. It's a really good time, but it also just has a really good story. I love Wallace and Gromit as characters. It's a guy and his dog, but the dog is smart. He doesn't talk, which are some of my favorite characters in Nick Park movies are the ones that don't talk, like Shaun the Sheep and Gromit. And Wallace has a cheese problem. He's addicted to cheese. Which sounds weird, but he can't help himself. And
which of us is not addicted to cheese?
We're all addicted to cheese. It's amazing. But Wallace has such a big problem that, Gromit's trying to help him. So, he launches out of the bed and he immediately wants cheese, please. And then Gromit's trying to serve him vegetables instead. And vegetables also play a really big part of this movie. Because Wallace and Gromit are now like their pest removal service, but they're like a humane pest removal service. So they'll go to someone who is having all their crops or vegetables eaten up by all these, rabbits. And they'll suck them up in this like big vacuum, and it's really cute because all the rabbits are so silly and funny, and they just go, "Hi!" and stuff like that. Just love how they act. And you have this like comically full of himself, dumb, bad villain in the movie, who has like a hair problem. He's got like a mean bulldog kind of a deal. So it's kind of like the other side of Wallace and Gromit. So you get really fun stuff between like fights between Gromit and that dog, and the villain and Wallace and stuff. So but yeah, Wallace, because they have that thing, Wallace is a big inventor, and he invents this machine that's meant to, harmlessly and safely alter your brain chemistry so that it can trick you into not liking cheese as much as you do. And as you can see, he tries to use this on a test rabbit, and shit goes down. It's really crazy. Did you want to kind of spoil?
No.
Okay.
I encourage you to watch it.
Encourage you to watch it. Things happen with that are just really funny. There's a couple really good surprises with what that machine actually does. And it's really, really funny. I love the third act in this movie is really fun because everything's, coming to a head, and, there's stakes. It feels like there's real stakes in this, but everything just kind of boils down to really cute stuff. No one's normally in any real danger because it's like a cute family film. And I just think it's really sweet. It feels kind of like a Paddington type movie. If you haven't seen Paddington, also check those movies out because those are great. But yeah, this is a really feel-good movie about cheese and vegetables and rabbits and, maybe trying to not eat the things that aren't great for you all the time. And, there's a lot to it, but it's just really funny and cute. You have anything else to say about it?
Yeah, if you're just looking for kind of a relaxing Halloween-themed movie, you're probably into horror if you're actually watching this. But if you're not into horror, this is a great choice for a Halloween-themed movie. And it's something great if you have kids, I think. But even if you don't have kids, I think definitely still check it out.
Yeah, and even though this is like kind of an older movie, like 2000s kind of a deal, the animation, it holds up. It's so incredible. The way they're able to do the stop motion and make it kind of like an action movie in some ways, where it's just like some of the sequences that play out are just really dynamic and fast paced and stuff like that. And just, it's a very smart movie in how it's written and executed and all that. And I really, really like Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Please check that out. Put it on for the whole family. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to The Witches of Eastwick. Kerri didn't, I don't think, finish this one.
I missed the entire third act.
But I can say that shouldn't really miss much. I know people who were growing up like around this time that it came out could probably really love it. But for me, I thought there was a lot of interesting bits of the movie, but it ultimately didn't work for me. I don't love like this kind of romance where it like a big part of it is just people who want to be sexy with each other all the time. And that's kind of like most of what the plot seems to be about. It is a group of women who are all together. I can't remember. I think they want just like a man?
Well, they've had a lot of, like, one is widowed.
That's right, okay.
One, her husband left her with quite a few children. And the other one, I think, has just been perpetually single.
So they get together and start talking about men and stuff like that, and I guess their desires. And they end up meeting who we find out is the devil. Mm-hmm.
AKA Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson, yeah. Who are the women? It is Susan Sarandon, Cher, and
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer. So really great cast, to be honest. A lot of great actors that I really, really like, including Cher, like Moonstruck and stuff like that. But this movie, like, I think it's probably just not like my thing on my wavelength. But I do like some of the stuff. Like the third act is weird and crazy, and it's just basically they develop this relationship with this guy who's the devil, and he's like seducing all of them, and then they just all hang out together. And then you have a woman who is like, all of these people are acting in sin, and she goes all crazy. And then you have a third act that's really crazy where they decide that, he's no good and they need to get rid of him. So they actually start to learn to be witches and cast all these spells on him. And it's really crazy what they do. They use a voodoo doll, and then he starts getting hurt and starts, like, the wind blows him away. He's like driving his car all crazy and wrecking and flying out of the car. And it's just really wild and stuff. But I don't know. I didn't really dig, like, any story in this. There's nothing that made me go, like, I really think this is a good story. So what do you think of what you saw?
Of what I saw, I liked it. I think it's really cool to see, three amazing women together. And kind of like, their characters like supporting each other and everything. I don't know. I thought it was cool. Like they kind of discover, as much as each of them is trying to find a good man at the beginning, they then kind of discover that they're better off without the man who does enter their lives. So I think it is kind of cool from a perspective of like, just, I don't know. I don't want to, like, freedom in how you want to be without needing, like, a codependent relationship or something. So I like those aspects of it. I guess I'll say I kind of like some of the themes of the movie. I like the acting and the actors. But yeah, I would say also not really my favorite thing. I think it was definitely, like, just very typical of some of those kind of mid-80s, or I guess this was late 80s, early 90s movies.
Something like that. Well, I mean, I can look it up right here. It is...
It's a little like of its
87.
time, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. It's... Kerri makes a good point about like the kind of the theme of the movie or the message of the movie is actually not too bad. It's kind of cool. But, like, I just feel like the execution of it, like, I didn't really enjoy watching most of the movie. It was just, like, a lot of, sexy talk and seduction and, just a lot of these things just aren't, like, really my style unless, I really care about the story that's being told. I just didn't really hear, although I do like another movie that's kind of similar is Death Becomes Her, which is a very wild, supernatural style kind of movie around the same vein. You have like feuding. That one you have feuding women.
I actually like this better than Death Becomes Her.
That's wild because I'm completely the opposite. I really like Death Becomes Her, but interesting. That's interesting to me, but really cool that we differ there. But yeah, we'll see what happens in the ranking. Do you have anything else to say about this one? Mm-hmm. All right, we can move on to our final movie in this video, which is The Wrath of Becky. In the middle of like the pandemic, I believe it was, the original Becky came out. I don't know if you remember this, but it was Lulu Wilson stars in this movie, in both of these movies. She plays Becky. And I love Lulu Wilson. She is like a very prominent actress in Mike Flanagan movies and shows. I think one of her first roles was Ouija, Origin of Evil by Mike Flanagan, and she's just a very creepy little kid. But it is turning into a really, really great actress. I mean, she was great in her first movie, but going on, she's been, really, really coming into her own. And I've been really digging her, especially as Becky. I think these movies are fun. They're not like great movies or anything, but it ends up basically being Becky fighting like Nazis and, people like neo-Nazis and, just people who are a little bit unsavory and just don't really want this. They want to do bad things, basically. So it's kind of like that whole setup, like a revenge kind of thing, because in the first movie, something bad happens to her family and she has to get revenge. Kind of a deal.
Against a bunch of neo-Nazis.
Yeah. And in this one, it's very similar. She is being a waitress and she ends up being followed and, harmed by some more neo-Nazis. And then someone she loved is killed and her dog is taken. And so she's got to get revenge. So I guess it is kind of like a little bit of a retread of the first one. But, it's another fun one. I will say the thing that I did like about this was the return of Seann William Scott. Because Kevin James was the big leader neo-Nazi guy in the first one. And in this one, it's Seann William Scott. I thought he was so menacing and really good. And because he's normally like very silly in movies and just a very funny guy kind of a deal, but in this one he was so serious. And I haven't seen him in a long time show up and stuff, and it's just really cool to see him again. I'd love to see him show up in more things because I thought he was particularly good. So I could actually see, even though these movies are very similar, the original and the sequel, I could see the Wrath of Becky being the preferred one over the first one.
Interesting.
It depends on who you like in it more, and she's kind of growing as a character too a little bit. So there's a little bit more growth. There's like one kill that happens that I didn't really agree with. I was like, okay, if you're gonna end up killing someone, why try and develop their story and then make us feel bad about it a little bit? So there's that, and then they try to like go big after that, and she I don't want to spoil it, but the big things happen for old Becky towards the end of this movie. And it's just another one of these, and I had heard good things, so I wanted to check it out. And it's always fun to see Becky kick some ass. So and it's wild. It's a crazy one with some of the things she does, some of the things she imagines doing, and then some of the things that she actually does. It's just really wild. What did you think about this one?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I would say if you liked the first Becky and you're like, I basically want to watch almost the same movie with effectively the same beats, but with new kills, you'll love it. Yeah,
that's a pretty good description of it. It's a good character.
If you didn't like the first one, don't check this out.
Yeah.
It is like how like Home Alone and Home Alone 2 are like the same movie but with different setups and stuff and different stunts at the end. It's like that.
That's pretty accurate, I'd say. Yeah. I enjoyed it though. I thought it was pretty good. So ultimately, I
like the first one. So.
Yeah, exactly. They're just fun. Whatever. I mean, it's like watching Friday the 13th over and over and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like kind of if you like slashers, but you want to actually be able to root for the person who's doing the killing and root against the people dying. It's a little easier too because you know, this is just a girl who's been in unfortunate circumstances, and then she's killing a bunch of Nazis. So
yeah, I mean, as much as you can root for murder.
Yeah, exactly.
One of those things. It's just a movie. Don't murder.
Yeah, please.
But yeah, that's it. That's all of our movies that we watched for this number 11 through 20 of our 61 days. We're a little behind, but we're trying to catch up now. And we will be back soon with our 21 through 30 movies, and I'm very excited about it. We have some good ones there as well. But yeah, we should go into our ranking. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
All right. So like the last video, we ranked our top 10. Now we're ranking this one as well. So do you want to start with your 10 or you want me to start? I'll start.
Are we going back? I feel like last time we went back and forth.
Yeah, we're going back and forth.
Oh, okay. Oh,
but I'll start with my 10, then
ahead.
you go to your 10, then back and forth to the 1. My number 10 was Repo, the Genetic Opera.
My number 10 is Witches of Eastwick, mostly because I didn't actually finish it.
Makes sense. Well, my number 9 is Witches of Eastwick, so.
And my number 9 is Repo.
Well, there you go. That sometimes it works out that way.
Yeah.
My number 8 is Wrath of Becky, the Wrath of Becky.
Interesting. Okay, my number 8 is Dawn of the Dead.
Okay. Okay. Knew
me.
My number 7 is No One Will Save You.
That's my number 7 as well.
Okay. My number 6 is Pumpkinhead.
That's also my number 6.
Wow. Okay, so I wonder if your 5 is Wrath, because my 5 was Dawn of the Dead.
My 5 is Wrath of Becky.
Wow, so we have the same top 4, which is really, well, not the same exact. We'll see if it's the same.
See.
But the same movies are there. My number 4 was Kiki's Delivery Service.
It's okay. My number 4 is Carnival of Souls.
Okay, my number 3 is Carnival of Souls. Poor baby.
My number 3 is Day of the Dead.
My number 2 is Day of the Dead.
Okay, my number 2 is Wallace and Gromit.
My number 1 is Wallace Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
My number 1 is Kiki's Delivery Service.
Oh, okay. I like that. We had like kind of similar rankings, but a few movies we like differently.
Honestly, Kiki's and Wallace are equal to me. I just have to put one.
I see.
Number 1.
I just think the curse of the Were-Rabbit is just so much more fun and funny and sweet, and Kiki's is mostly just sweet.
I think on a different day, Wallace would be my number 1.
Yeah, so it's different. They're very different vibes. One's British, one's Japanese. So, you know, it's just different. But they're both
like if you wanted to do a little Halloween double feature, just like a cute Halloween themed double feature, oh my gosh.
It's a perfect animated Halloween double feature. Yeah, do that if you haven't seen them or if you haven't seen them in a while. They're both so wholesome. Speaking of wholesome, we got a cute baby here.
Sometimes you just need some wholesome escapism.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this is great. We knocked this one out, and we will return soon with our, like I said, our 21 through our 30 as we keep watching horror movies in October. We're now into October, so yep. Thank you guys for watching. Watch some of our other videos. We have a lot of rankings out there that we do called You Ranking with Me. We also have a teaser or a teaser trailer reaction that myself and my buddy Tato did to the Good Burger 2 trailer. And we do have plans on watching the original Good Burger and Good Burger 2 when it drops, and kind of reacting to that, you know, trying to get into reaction videos and things like that. I think that's mostly it. I'm trying to maybe drop some more reviews and stuff on this channel for movies and things that I see. So, yeah, just like this one was a really good review video. Thank you, Kerri, for joining me. This was very fun. Thank you, Elliot, for being such a cute baby. And, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Like the video and subscribe to the channel, please. And thank you.